Designed by architect Poi Gum Lee and dedicated in 1962, the Kimlau War Memorial is a granite ceremonial gateway located in Kimlau Square at the intersection of Chatham Square, Oliver Street, and East Broadway in Manhattan. The arch, sponsored by the American Legion, honors Chinese American soldiers who died while serving in the United States military. The memorial is named after Second Lieutenant Benjamin Ralph Kimlau, a Chinese American pilot who died while attacking Japanese military installations in the South Pacific in World War II. The arch and its pair of benches consist of a unique blend of traditional Chinese architectural forms with a streamlined mid-century modern aesthetic, and has served as an important community monument for nearly 60 years. At the June 1st public hearing, 12 people testified in favor of the proposed designation, including representatives of the New York City Department of Parks and Recreation, City Council member Margaret Chin, the Historic Districts Council, the Lieutenant B.R. Kimlau Chinese Memorial Post 1291 of the American Legion, the Sons of the American Legion Post 1291, the Bowery Alliance of Neighbors, and 4 individuals, including the niece of Lieutenant B.R. Kimlau. No one spoke in opposition to the designation. In addition, the commission received 51 written submissions in support of the proposed designation, including from the Chinese Consolidated Benevolent Association, the United War Veterans Council, the Chinese American World War II Veterans Recognition Project, and the Chinese Center on Long Island, and from individuals, including veterans and members of the American Legion Auxiliary, and the Sons of the American Legion. We're very grateful for all of the support. The Kimlau War Memorial is located within Kimlau Square in Chatham Square. It was identified as part of a broader study of Chinatown, and it's important as a public monument and symbol of Chinese contribution to Chinese American contribution to United States history. Its prominent location at the intersection of Chatham Square, Mott Street, and East Broadway is indicated by the star on this map. Chinatown has a fascinating layered history. While there are several New York City landmarks in the Chinatown area, none were designated specifically and primarily because of their significance to the Chinese American community. The Kimlau War Memorial would be the first New York City landmark that specifically recognizes Chinese American history and culture. Until the 1870s, few Chinese immigrants settled in New York City. The majority of immigration from China in the 1840s was related to railroad construction in the western part of the country. The completion of the Transcontinental Railroad in 1869, coupled with an outbreak of anti-Chinese violence in the West, caused many immigrants to relocate to New York City in the vicinity of Mott, Pell, and Doyer Streets at the northwest side of Chatham Square. As early as the 1880s, Chinese shops faced the square. Though the growth of Chinatown slowed after the discriminatory 1882 Exclusion Act restricted Chinese immigration to the United States, the community built complex organizations, and its restaurants became attractions to New Yorkers and tourists by the turn of the century. Despite being denied full citizenship and facing extensive racial discrimination, approximately 20,000 Chinese Americans enlisted and fought for the United States during World War II. The Chinese Exclusion Act was repealed in 1943, and small quotas of immigrants were allowed over the next 2 decades. In 1965, immigration from Asia was opened widely, leading to the rapid expansion of Manhattan's Chinatown, as well as new Chinatown communities in Queens and Brooklyn. Located in Lower Manhattan between the Manhattan and Brooklyn bridges, the area around Chatham Square was developed early in New York City's history and has held a significant central location in Chinatown since the late 19th century. The irregular street grid forms this intersection of multiple streets with an asymmetrical plaza. The street configuration has changed over time, most recently in 1999 when St. James Place was closed off and the square expanded into the former roadway. Chatham Square functioned as an open-air livestock market until the 1820s. In the mid-19th century, it was part of the Five Points neighborhood and was known for its infamous saloons and tattoo parlors. By 1880, Chatham Square was an important junction of the 2nd and 3rd Avenue elevated train lines. Until the middle of the 19th century, it was cast in perpetual shadow by the elevated lines that intersected overhead. In 1955, the elevated tracks were replaced by the below-grade subway, bringing daylight to the area for the first time in 75 years. In 1961, a small crescent of land was laid out in Chatham Square as a public place named Kimlau Square, after 2nd Lieutenant Benjamin Ralph Kimlau. Dedicated in 1962, the memorial erected there was a gift of the Lieutenant B.R. Kimlau Chinese Memorial Post 1291 of the American Legion. The dedication of the monument was of great significance to the Chinese American community and veterans in particular. The dedication ceremony drew large crowds, seen in the newspaper photo on the right. The American Legion is a national organization formed by World War I veterans with a mission to care for disabled and sick veterans. It established hospitals and sponsored the creation of the Veterans Administration. There are currently more than 15,000 local American Legion posts. The Lieutenant Kimlau post is the largest in New York City and occupies a building nearby on Canal Street. Both the post and the War Memorial are named for Benjamin Ralph Kimlau, who moved to Chinatown with his family as a teenager and lived here until he left to travel to China. Upon his return to the United States, he enrolled at the Pennsylvania Military College and graduated in 1942 with honors. He was class president and the only Chinese American in his class. Despite widespread discrimination against Asian Americans in the 1940s, Kimlau served as a 2nd lieutenant in the U.S. Army Field Artillery Branch. He later transferred to the U.S. Army Air Forces and trained as a pilot. He died while attacking Japanese military installations in the South Pacific in World War II at the age of 26. The Kimlau War Memorial was designed by the Chinese-American architect Hui Gum Lee. Born at 13 Mott Street in 1900, he was educated at Pratt, MIT, and Columbia. He worked for a time in Shanghai in the 1930s and became prominent there before returning to New York. He later served as supervising architect and project advisor for the New York City Housing Authority. He also had his own practice in Chinatown that blended Art Deco, modernism, and Chinese vernacular forms. Hui Gum Lee's work has been cited by scholars as among the most important Chinese American architecture of its time. Many of the recognizable buildings associated with the Chinese American community in Chinatown were Lee's designs or developed from his concepts. Among Hui Ji Lee's work in Chinatown in the 1950s and 60s is the development of the concept design for the Chinese Merchants Association building at 184 Canal Street, the Pagoda Theater, a Chinese movie house at 11 East Broadway, which has since been demolished, the Wong Family Association building at 24 Bowery, which has been altered, and numerous storefronts. Lee's designs in Chinatown reflect his modernist background while incorporating vernacular features such as tile roofs with upturned eaves. These are early renderings of the memorial arch from the New York City Parks Department archives. According to the Kimlau Post of the American Legion, an even earlier scheme proposed a larger structure, which posed challenges given the size and the location of the site. The Kimlau War Memorial is a simplified version of Pei Lu or Pei Thong, a traditional gateway in Chinese architecture that evolved from Buddhist forms in India. Traditionally composed of wood and stone with elaborately tiled upturned roofs, they were decorative gateways into villages or cemeteries. Contemporary examples are often erected as memorials, such as this one, or as recognizable gateways into Chinatowns throughout the world. These drawings show the evolution of the design to its ultimately more modern appearance, blending traditional Chinese architectural forms like the peaked roof and brackets with a streamlined aesthetic. The memorial's Asian-inspired architecture reflects the character of the area in the center of Manhattan's Chinese American community. As Lee's design evolved, many of the vernacular ornamental details were simplified and made more modern. We don't know the specific reason for these changes. We suspect it was in line with the architect's own design preferences, and possibly a more restrained, sober design was seen as more appropriate for a monument to those who gave their lives in service to this country. As completed, the Kimlau War Memorial is a restrained modern granite ceremonial gateway with a peaked roof flanked by 2 benches finished in pebbled concrete. Inscribed at the top of the arch in both Chinese and English are the words, "In memory of the Americans of Chinese ancestry who lost their lives in defense of freedom and democracy." The monument's details, such as incised joints that echo the design of a vernacular Chinese tile roof, reflect the cultural traditions of the Chinese American community that surrounds Kimlau Square in a striking modern expression. Kimlau Square sits at the epicenter of today's expanded Chinatown as a site of honor for Chinese American veterans. It serves as an important place of pride, gathering, and remembrance of the sacrifices of the Chinese American community for a country that has not always fully accepted them or acknowledged their contributions. The memorial has played an important role as the terminus of parades on Memorial and Veterans Day, and as a place of important celebrations and ceremonies. Shown here are images provided by the Kimlau Post of the American Legion. The tax lot retains the irregular shape created by the former street pattern, as you can see on this map, and the current footprint of Kimlau Square dates to the late 1990s. So rather than utilizing either of these now unrelated boundaries, the proposed landmark site would consist just of the footprint of the Memorial Gateway and the adjacent benches. The Kimlau War Memorial is a place for remembrance and reflection, situated in a prominent location in Chinatown. The Kimlau War Memorial is significant as a public monument dedicated to the contributions of Chinese Americans to American history. It's designed by the architect Poiji Lee, and its prominence as a symbolic gateway to Chinatown. The arch and benches retain a high degree of integrity to their original construction, and the Kimlau Square is under the care of the New York City Parks Department, and a restoration or rehabilitation of the memorial is currently being planned. The research department recommends the commission vote to designate this monument, and Lisa Buckley from the research staff, who wrote the designation report and this presentation, is here with me to help respond to any questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Chen, would you make the motion on this one?
It'll be my honor. I move that Landmarks Preservation Commission designate the Kimlau Memorial within Kimlau Square, Chatham Square, and East Broadway, Borough Manhattan, as a New York City landmark because of its special character and special historic and aesthetic interest and value as part of the development, heritage, and cultural characteristic of the city, state, and nation, as set forth in the designation report for LP-2653 dated June 22nd, 2021. I also move that Borough of Manhattan Tax Map Block 117, Lot 100, in part be designated as its landmark site as described in designation report and illustrated in the attached map. And I also have to thank Lisa and Kate for doing this brilliant research, this extensive, and all the staff at LPC.
Thank you. Commissioner Bland, would you second the motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you. And Mark, will you call the vote?
Chair Carroll.
Aye.
Commissioner Bland.
Aye.
Commissioner Shamir Barron.
Aye.
Commissioner Chapin. Not here. Commissioner Chen.
Aye.
Commissioner Devonshire.
Aye.
Commissioner Goldblum.
Aye.
Commissioner Gustafson.
Aye.
Commissioner Jefferson.
Aye.
Commissioner Lutfi. Commissioner Lutfi.
Aye.
Commissioner Holford Smith.
Aye.
With 10 in favor and none opposed, the motion passes.
Okay, that's designated our latest New York City landmark and the first New York City landmark designated specifically for its recognition of the Chinese American community. So delighted for it. Thank you all.